I'm Frank Miller, 72, retired mail carrier, the kind of man who still irons handkerchiefs and keeps a penny jar for emergencies. For 12 years, I took the same small blue sleeping pill every night at 9:30 p.m. sharp. My son David said, "Dad, you're calmer when you rest." And my daughter-in-law Chelsea always set a glass of water by my lamp, like a flight attendant with perfect nails and a schedule tighter than a drum. When you're an old man in a quiet house, rituals become fences. You lean on them so you don't topple. I leaned hard. I slept like a beached whale, mouth open, socks on. The family joked my snoring could shake the blinds in Ohio. I laughed, too. It felt harmless. I never asked what the rest of the house did after I drifted off. I figured they watched game shows and argued about laundry. Ordinary life. Safe life. Then one Tuesday in May, the pill rolled under the dresser. I didn't take it. And for the first time in a decade, my fences moved. I didn't know it yet, but that tiny blue tablet had been the curtain to a midnight stage set right in my own bedroom. And the audience? Far bigger than I could have imagined. But if you think this is about a missing pill, wait until you hear what replaced it. Without that little pill, I lay awake, feeling every heartbeat like a drum solo in an empty concert hall. The ceiling fan squeaked one of those sounds that's quiet until 3 a.m., then suddenly sounds like a helicopter landing on your roof. At first, I thought it was just insomnia. I counted sheep, but they looked bored halfway through. Then, around 11:15, the hallway gave its familiar groan third step, the tattletale one. Someone was moving, light-footed, careful. "David?" I whispered. Nothing. Then came a glow, soft and bluish, like a phone screen. Through the crack of my door, I saw Chelsea, my daughter-in-law, tiptoeing past in leggings and a hoodie, holding what looked like my laptop. I almost called out, but curiosity pinned me down. She went into the living room, lights off, except for the glow of the screen. I heard faint laughter, hers, and another voice, deep and male, not David's. My first thought? Oh, Lord, don't tell me she's watching one of those late-night cooking shows again. The woman could watch people sauté onions like it was Shakespeare. But this didn't sound like sautéing. I got up, barefoot, trying to be stealthy. At 72, stealth is relative. Every knee pop is basically a gunshot. And then I saw it, the reflection in the hallway mirror. Chelsea, sitting on the couch, whispering, smiling into the camera like a teenager on a secret call. And the man on the screen said, "Can he hear us?" My heart skipped. Who? Hear what? That's when I realized they weren't talking about David, and they definitely weren't talking about onions. But, trust me, this was only the warm-up act for what I caught the next night. The next morning, I pretended everything was normal. I shuffled into the kitchen in my robe, the one that looks like it survived 3 world wars and 1 gravy accident, and found Chelsea humming while making pancakes. "Sleep well, Frank?" she asked, all sunshine and syrup. "Oh, like a baby," I said. Woke up crying twice and needed someone to burp me. She laughed, but her eyes flickered for half a second, just long enough to tell me my little insomnia experiment wasn't supposed to happen. All day, I replayed last night like a detective who forgot his glasses. Who was that man? Why did she look so nervous? And why did my laptop suddenly smell faintly of perfume that cost more than my pension check? By evening, I made up my mind I'd forget my pill again. I even told David I was cutting back. He just nodded and said, "Whatever helps, Dad." Poor boy. The man trusts too easily. That night, I skipped the pill and tucked myself in like a spy under deep cover. I left the door slightly open, the way a cat leaves it when planning chaos. Around midnight, she appeared again. Only this time, she wasn't alone. A man in my living room, whispering. Not a burglar. Burglars don't wear cologne that strong. I froze, then peeked through the crack. He was young, maybe 30, hair slicked back like he ironed it. And Chelsea? She was filming something on her phone, whispering like they were on some secret mission. Then I heard her say it. "He's asleep upstairs. He always is. Don't worry." If she meant me, She was about to get the performance of her life, because I'd never acted asleep so convincingly in my 72 years. But what she didn't know, I'd already planned Act Two, and it involved a very old man, a pair of binoculars, and one surprisingly nosy neighbor. The next day, I paid a visit to my secret weapon, my neighbor, Doris Hensley. 80 years old, 3 hearing aids, and the unofficial surveillance system of our entire block. If something happened within a 5-mile radius, Doris already knew, and probably had opinions about it. She opened the door in her pink bathrobe and said, "Frank, if you're here to borrow sugar, it's your blood pressure that needs sweetening, not your coffee." "Doris," I whispered, "I need your binoculars." Her eyebrows shot up. "Bird watching or wife? Watching?" "Daughter-in-law," I corrected. She crossed her arms. "Oh, so the dangerous kind." That night, while the rest of the world slept, Doris and I sat like 2 retired spies in her upstairs window. Lights off, binoculars trained across the street toward my own living room. We had snacks. She insisted on celery sticks. I insisted on cookies. A balanced operation. Around 11:40, a shadow slipped into my house through the back door. Doris gasped so loud I thought we'd get caught. "Relax," I said. "That's just Chelsea." A minute later, the slick-haired mystery man followed. "Frank," Doris whispered, "I swear, if that's the UPS guy again, I'm switching to FedEx." We both leaned closer. Through the glass, we saw them talking, whispering, laughing quietly. Then the lights dimmed, and Chelsea pointed her phone camera at the table, like she was setting up a scene, and when I saw what they put on that table, it wasn't what I expected at all. Because next to 2 wine glasses there was my medication bottle. But the show wasn't over yet, Doris whispered. "Honey, I think your next pill might come with a plot twist." The next morning, I looked at that pill bottle like it was a rattlesnake in a tuxedo. 12 years I'd swallowed those blue things without question, and now I wasn't even sure what they were. Chelsea poured my coffee like usual, cheerful as a commercial. "Here you go, Dad. Pill time." I smiled, nodded, and when she turned around, I palmed it like a magician. The woman thought she was dealing with an old fool. She didn't realize she'd just met the great Frank Dini. When she left the room, I slipped the pill into an envelope and marched straight to the pharmacy. The pharmacist, a young man with hair that could survive a tornado, looked at it and frowned. "Mr. Miller," he said, "this isn't from us. There's no code, no brand, nothing." I blinked. "What do you mean nothing? I've been buying these for years." He leaned closer. "Sir, these aren't standard sleep aids. I'd suggest not taking any more." Well, that's when my eyebrows nearly flew off my face. I thanked him, walked out, and stood in the parking lot staring at the envelope. 12 years of my life every night, lights out at 9:30, and I had no idea what I'd been swallowing. Back home, I sat on the porch swing, thinking. My hands shook, half with anger, half with caffeine. Chelsea came out, smiling. "You okay, Frank?" "Oh, peachy," I said. "Just thinking about starting a YouTube channel. What's in Grandpa's pills? Might go viral." She laughed, not realizing the irony. But that evening I decided, enough. I'd find out everything. Because if there's one thing you don't mess with, it's an old man's sleep. Or his dignity. And that night, I swapped my own pill bottle with something very special courtesy of Doris and her retired nurse connections. That evening, I stood in my kitchen like a mad scientist. Doris had handed me a small brown bottle with a wink. "It's chamomile and oat extract," she said. "Puts you to sleep for real, but only if you want to. And if you don't, you'll be as wide awake as a squirrel on espresso." Perfect. I replaced the old pills with Doris's special edition, poured my glass of water, and waited for the show. Chelsea came in right on schedule. Same smile, same fake sweetness. "Here's your pill, Frank. Sweet dreams." "Thanks, dear," I said, popping one into my mouth, or so she thought. Truth was, it went straight into my sleeve. Old magician habits die hard. I lay in bed, lights off, pretending to drift into slumberland. I even did the fake snore, the deep, heroic kind that could scare off burglars. At 11:27, I heard it again. Footsteps, whispers, the squeak of that third stair. My eyes stayed closed. Chelsea's voice. He's out cold, as always. Then a man's laugh, smooth, confident, too young to belong in my house. I cracked one eye open just a sliver. They were in my room. My room. Chelsea held up a small bottle. My bottle. Perfect, she whispered. Once we're done, I'll switch them back. He'll never know. The man smirked. You're scary when you plan, Chels, she giggled. It's not planning. It's protecting what's ours. What's ours? My head spun. Was she slowly drugging me to get to something? Money? Property? I'd spent my whole life paying bills on time, clipping coupons, and trusting family, and now I was lying there like a decoy in my own home. But one thing about getting old, you learn patience. So I waited. And when she whispered, "See you tomorrow, same time," I smiled in the dark, because tomorrow I would be the one watching her sleep. The next morning, I woke up early, not because of nerves, but because my bladder runs on its own schedule now. At 6:15 sharp, I brewed coffee strong enough to remove paint, fed the neighbor's cat that keeps pretending it's mine, and sat at the table pretending to read the paper while watching Chelsea flutter around like nothing happened. "Morning, Frank. Did you sleep well?" she chirped. "Oh, like a baby," I said. "Woke up twice, screamed once, and needed someone to change me." She laughed politely, then scrolled her phone like she was checking stock prices. I pretended not to notice that her hands trembled slightly. When she left for errands, I got to work. Doris came over with her binoculars and a sandwich the size of a Buick. "All right, Agent Miller," she said. "What's our mission today?" I grinned. "Simple. Catch my daughter-in-law in the act, and not the romantic kind." We set up base in my living room. Doris had snacks, a notepad, and an enthusiasm that could power a small city. Around noon, Chelsea came home alone, carrying a small, locked box. She went straight into my study, the one room she never entered before. We watched from the hallway as she opened my desk drawer, took out a set of papers, my will, and placed them neatly beside her phone. Then she started talking to someone. "Don't worry," she whispered. "It'll be done soon." "He's practically half asleep already," Doris gasped. "Frank, she's planning something." "Oh, I know," I said. "But we're not calling the cops yet." "Why not?" "Because," I whispered, "the best way to catch a rat is to let it think it's alone in the kitchen." That afternoon, I drafted my own little surprise, one that would make Chelsea's eyes pop wider than my dentures in cold water. By evening, my plan was set elegant, harmless, and just mischievous enough to make Doris snort iced tea out her nose when I told her. Step 1. Switch the pills again. But this time, not with chamomile, with pure vitamin B12. Energy boost guaranteed. If Chelsea thought she was knocking me out, she was about to meet Frank 2, the Restless Edition. Step 2. Install Doris's ancient motion camera in the living room. It looked like it came from a Cold War museum, but she swore it still worked. "It records straight to an SD card," she said. "Whatever that means." Step 3. Act exactly like the harmless, half-drowsy grandpa she believed I was. At 9:30, the show began. I swallowed the vitamin with my usual dramatic sigh. "Good night, dear," I said. "Don't forget to turn off the porch light." "Of course," she smiled, tucking me in like I was a toddler. 2 hours later, my eyes were wide open and my energy level rivaled a kid after Halloween candy. I crept downstairs in my robe, armed with Doris's binoculars. Don't ask why, it just felt right. And there she was again. Same man. Same low whispers. Only this time, they weren't filming. They were arguing. "I told you he'd sign it soon!" Chelsea hissed. "He's just slow, okay?" The man replied, "If he finds out what's in those pills, we're finished." I nearly laughed out loud. "Finished? Sweetheart, you're not even at the intermission yet." I tiptoed back upstairs and checked Doris's little camera light blinking green. Recording perfectly. The old fool wasn't asleep anymore. Tomorrow, I'd make sure the whole family watched the same midnight movie starring Chelsea herself. The next morning, I woke up feeling like a man with a secret superpower. The kind that doesn't need tights, just Patience and arthritis cream. Chelsea was at the stove, humming and flipping pancakes, acting like she hadn't plotted a late-night conspiracy in my living room. "How about blueberry, Frank?" she asked sweetly. "Lovely," I said, grinning. "Blue's a calming color, don't you think? Keeps the nerves steady, especially for guilty people." She blinked. "What?" "Oh, just a fun fact I read online." I winked. Doris would have been proud of that one. After breakfast, I told her, "I think I'll invite David's sister over for dinner tonight. Family time, you know." Chelsea froze for half a second before recovering. "Oh, sure. That'll be nice." I spent the day preparing. I dusted off the old TV, tested Doris's footage, and practiced keeping a straight face. I even wore my best cardigan, the one that makes me look like a wise old philosopher or a retired magician. By 6 o'clock, everyone was seated: David, Chelsea, and my daughter Emma. I poured tea, smiled, and said, "Before dinner, I want to show you all something." Doris helped me film it. Chelsea's fork paused midair. "Film what?" "Oh, just my new hobby," I said. "Documentaries. This one's called Nights at the Miller House." I pressed play. The TV flickered, and there they were. Chelsea and her mystery man, whispering, arguing, waving my pill bottle like it was a prop. The room went silent. David's face turned from confusion to disbelief. Chelsea stammered, "Frank, this isn't what it looks like." "Oh, I know," I said. "It looks better in HD." Emma snorted, trying not to laugh. But I wasn't laughing yet. I still had one last scene to play, and this one Chelsea wouldn't forget. David sat frozen, mouth half open, like he was buffering. Chelsea kept blinking at the screen, probably praying it would glitch. Even the cat, yes, the one that's technically Doris's, stopped licking its paw. On the TV, her voice echoed, "Don't worry, he's asleep upstairs. He always is." David turned to her, pale. "Chelsea, what is this?" She stuttered. It's not what you think. That's just a friend helping me with, our taxes." "Taxes?" I said. "You've got the most emotional accountant I've ever seen." I've never heard anyone whisper about deductions that passionately. Doris, who I'd secretly invited and who was now filming from the corner with her iPad, whispered, "You tell her, Frank." Chelsea jumped to her feet. "You had no right to spy on me." "Oh, believe me," I said. "After 12 years of being put to sleep like a toddler, I earned that right." Then I took out the pharmacy report and slid it across the table. "You see these pills? Not official. You've been giving me something you mixed. What was it, Chelsea? Enough to make me drowsy, confused, maybe easier to sign a few things?" David's eyes widened. "Sign what?" Chelsea went silent. That was my cue. I pulled out my will, the original, not the version she'd been rehearsing with. "You know," I said calmly, "I was going to leave everything to both of you equally. But lately, I've been thinking of donating half to the Doris Hensley Foundation for Investigative Seniors." Doris waved proudly like she'd just won an Oscar. Chelsea's face turned tomato red. "You're making a mistake." "No," I said, leaning back with a smirk. "I'm finally waking up." And as I watched her panic under the same lights she thought I'd never see, I realized this was the best sleep I'd had in years. But the real punchline was still on its way. And it came from the most unexpected place in the room. Just as the air got so thick you could butter it, David stood up. My quiet, mild-mannered son, who usually panicked over mismatched socks, slammed his palm on the table so hard the cat fled under the couch. "Chelsea," he said, his voice shaking, "tell me the truth. Were you drugging my father?" She started to cry, that high-pitched, shaky kind of cry that sounds more like a performance than regret. "I just wanted him to sleep better. He was always watching us." "Watching you?" I said. "Chelsea, I was unconscious for 12 years. The only thing I was watching was the back of my eyelids." Doris chuckled so loud I had to nudge her to stop. Chelsea turned defensive. "You don't understand. It wasn't dangerous. It just kept him calm while we managed things." David frowned. "Managed what?" She hesitated. "The finances, the paperwork, you know, life." That's when I almost laughed. "So basically, You wanted to manage me out of the picture, Doris whispered. That's one way to declutter a house. I stood up slowly, steadying myself on the chair. Chelsea, for 12 years, I trusted you. Every night, I thanked you for taking care of me. Turns out, you were just taking. Her tears stopped instantly. You can't prove anything. I smiled, tapping the little camera on the table. Honey, you're on candid camera. Doris has more backups than the Pentagon. David looked devastated, embarrassed, betrayed all at once. He muttered, Dad, I'm so sorry. I put a hand on his shoulder. Don't be, son. We both learned something tonight. Then I turned to Chelsea and added softly, but yours is coming tomorrow. Because sometimes the best punishment isn't shouting, it's letting the truth wake up everyone else. The next morning, the house felt like a courtroom, silent, tense, with Doris pacing the porch outside like a caffeine-fueled bailiff. Chelsea hadn't come out of the guest room all night. David had slept on the couch, muttering in his sleep. Tax accountant. My foot. I made pancakes my secret weapon. Even in war, breakfast must go on. When the smell of butter finally lured them out, I sat there calmly, sipping my coffee. The same way a cat pretends it hasn't just caught a bird. Chelsea sat across from me, eyes swollen, but her tone, still sharp. So what now, Frank? You going to ruin my life? I shrugged. You did a fine job of that yourself. I'm just the audience. She slammed her fork down. You think you're so clever, you and your nosy friend next door. Right on cue, Doris poked her head through the open window. Excuse me, I'm not nosy. I'm observant with purpose. I almost spat my coffee. Then I said, Chelsea, I'm not pressing charges. Not yet, but you will pack your things today, and you'll leave. And I'll be keeping my will exactly as it was. Half to David, half to charity. Maybe even a little extra to the neighborhood watch fund. David looked relieved, but also heartbroken. Dad, I don't know what to say. Say nothing, I told him. Just promise me one thing. Next time you fall in love, make sure she's not trying to sell your father on eBay. Even Chelsea smirked for a split second, the irony not lost on her. As she left, suitcase in hand, Doris saluted her from the porch. Sweet dreams, dear, she said. Maybe try your own pills this time. And for the first time in years, I felt lighter, awake, alive. But my story wasn't quite over, because later that afternoon, I got a call that made me laugh harder than I had in a decade. Around 4 in the afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Normally, I don't answer those. Half the time it's someone offering free medical alert bracelets or exclusive cruise deals for seniors. But I picked up anyway. Mr. Miller, said a young, nervous voice. This is Detective Harris from the precinct. We, just spoke with your daughter-in-law, Chelsea. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, did she finally confess she can't cook meatloaf? Not exactly, he said, hesitating. She came in to report you. I nearly dropped my coffee. Me? What for? Breathing without her permission? She claimed you and a neighbor were stalking her, he explained awkwardly. But after reviewing her phone and some footage she forgot to delete, I could practically hear his grin through the phone. Well, he continued, let's just say she left the station pretty quickly. You're free to enjoy your nap schedule again, sir. Thank you, Detective, I said. But naps are overrated. I'm more of a revenge with coffee kind of guy. After I hung up, I burst out laughing so loud Doris shouted from next door. Frank, did the Pope call? No, I yelled back. Better karma finally got Wi-Fi. That evening, David came home early. He looked tired, older somehow. But when he sat beside me, he said, Dad, thank you. I didn't see who she really was. I guess I wanted to. I patted his shoulder. Son, we all do. Sometimes the people closest to us tuck us in just to keep us from waking up. He smiled faintly. So what now? Now? I said, grinning. We fix the creaky stair, change the locks, and I start charging Doris rent for being my private security team. But deep down, I wasn't done reflecting because the biggest twist of all wasn't what Chelsea did. it was what I learned from it. That night, I sat on the porch with Doris, two rocking chairs creaking in perfect rhythm like an old duet of arthritis and wisdom. The sunset painted the street gold, and for the first time in 12 years, I didn't feel sleepy. Not from pills, not from routine, just peaceful. You know, Doris, I said. I used to think getting old meant slowing down. Turns out, it just means having more time to notice who's sneaking around your living room. She cackled so hard, her dentures almost made a break for freedom. Frank, you've lived through war, taxes, and Chelsea's cooking. You're basically indestructible. I smiled. Indestructible, maybe, but I learned something. I trusted the wrong person for a long time, and instead of asking questions, I just kept swallowing whatever was handed to me. Pills, excuses, smiles, same thing really. Doris nodded. That's life, sugar. We all take someone's word until it puts us to sleep. I chuckled. Well, I'm awake now. No more blue pills, no more blind faith. From now on, I'm reading every label, whether it's medicine or people. She raised her teacup. To staying awake. To staying alive. I corrected. We clinked cups, and I laughed not the bitter kind, but the kind that comes from finally being in on the joke. Somewhere inside, David was humming while fixing that old step. The cat was snoring in my chair, and for the first time in a long while, the house felt like mine again, noisy, messy, alive. But little did I know, Chelsea's final gift to me was still waiting in that drawer by my bed, and it wasn't another pill. The next morning, I opened the drawer by my bed, expecting dust and old receipts, and there it was, a small white envelope with my name, written in Chelsea's neat, dramatic handwriting. For a moment, I considered tossing it straight in the trash. But curiosity is a powerful thing, especially in men my age who've already seen too much. Inside was a single note. Frank, I'm sorry. You were never supposed to get hurt. I just wanted control. You were kind, but your kindness made me feel small. I hope someday you'll forgive me. See, I read it twice, maybe 3 times. I didn't feel anger anymore, just a strange mix of sadness and relief. Because somewhere under all that deceit, there was still a human being. A foolish one, sure, but human. I folded the letter, slipped it into my Bible, and whispered, You're forgiven, kid, but I'm keeping the house. Then I walked outside. Doris was trimming her roses, wearing sunglasses big enough to cover half her face. So, she asked, did she apologize or confess to alien contact? Both, I said, and I accepted. She grinned. You soft old fool. Maybe, I said, smiling, but being soft's not the same as being blind. I finally learned the difference. The sky was bright, the world quiet, and for the first time in 12 long years I didn't need a pill to sleep. Because peace, I realized, isn't found in silence or pills. It's found in finally waking up and laughing about it. If this story made you smile, think, or maybe even laugh a little hit, subscribe and stay with us here at The Old Man Stories. Tell me in the comments how old are you and where are you watching from. I read every one of them, and your stories mean more to me than any pill ever could. Because here, we don't chase time, we share it.